Aphorism 81. The fact. So we are going from that surah part. Okay, the miasm part. We are going ahead. The fact that this extremely ancient infecting agent. I will just put some. I will just give some words. Little importance. They are not bold or they are not given in the organon like this, but I am just giving from my side so that we can consider these things, these certain words as important and try to understand what Dr. Hahnemann is trying to tell us. So the fact that this extremely ancient infecting agent, so this infecting agent, this infecting agent of miasm, it is very, very ancient. It is not something which has come up suddenly in the times of Dr. Hahnemann or in our times. It has been going on from long time, in some hundreds of generations, going back as hundreds of generations, many generations back. This ancient infecting agent, it has started affecting the human beings through many millions of human organisms, and it has come to this development through millions of human organisms and has thus attained an incredible development. And it is developing from Dr. Hahnemann's time. It has developed more. We will discuss about that thing. But even to his time, he could see when he was going through the history of the medicine and everything which he was observing, he could see that this thing has basically attained an incredible development, renders it in some measure conceivable how it can now display such innumerable morbid forms in the great family of mankind. And when we look at this infecting agent, this miasm, this sora, that it has gone from so hundreds of generations through millions of human organisms, it also gives us this understanding that that is how it has basically shown innumerable morbid forms in the great family of mankind. It is the same family, the mankind, the human being, it is the same family. In the whole species, it has shown innumerable morbid forms of the diseases. Particularly when we consider what a number of circumstances just contribute to the production of these great varieties. I have just added this, actually I have added the first footnote because it is given at this circumstances part. I will come back to it. So particularly when we consider what a number of circumstances contribute to the production of these great varieties. So Dr. Hahnemann is explaining it that it is an infecting agent. Like I have told you earlier also, that many times this infection, this transferring of the infection or the infectious, this will be used many times in the organon. In the chronic diseases, the book of chronic diseases, it is also used many times. But here the infecting agent does not mean some kind of bacteria or virus. Infecting agent means it is going from one person to the another. It is transferring the disease from one person to the another in a dynamic way. So this has been going on from past so millions, through millions of human organisms, from hundreds of generations. It is going on. And there are certain circumstances. What are those circumstances doing? They are contributing to the production of these great varieties of chronic disease. So basically, SORA, the miasm, and the circumstances, when they combine, they basically give rise to these diseases. So first, now we will go through this footnote because this gives us an understanding into what kind of circumstances, first of all, and then we will go back to the aphorism 81. Some of these causes that exercise a modifying influence. So these causes which are external, the circumstances which are external, they basically cause, they basically amount the modifying influence. They modify. They can have a modification on the symptoms. but they are not the, again we have to keep the aphorism 31 also, the understanding of aphorism 31, where Dr. Hahnemann was saying that all these influences, all these things which are external, they cannot make a human being or an organism unhealthy unconditionally. So these are the condition. The miasm is the condition. The person has to be infected with the miasm, and then these conditions, these kind of things, they start modifying an influence on these the health of the organism. So some of these causes that exercise a modifying influence on the transformation of sora. So these causes, they basically modify the sora. Different kind of modifications are given to the sora by these kind of conditions. But the sora is going on. Into chronic diseases manifestly depends sometimes on the climate and peculiar physical character of the place of the abode. For example, what kind of climate is there? An external factor. What kind of place I am living in? How is my place where I abode? The house, the conditions of the house, the working place, what is the physical character of that place? Sometimes on the very great varieties in the physical and mental training of youth. Very great varieties. This is again very important. All over the world, we have different kind of civilizations. We have different kind of people. We have different kind of traditions. We have different kind of educations. We have different. Everywhere it is different. Like for example, if I talk about eye contact, in the Western countries, in America, eye contact is a very important part, of the culture of the society. If you want the child to look confident, you want to develop confidence in a child or in someone, you tell them that whenever you have to talk, look in the eye of the opposite person. That shows confidence. But if you come to the eastern part, in Japan, in India also, in Thailand, I think it will be the same, because we have very common links to the culture. Eye contact is basically thought to be something which should not be done. If you are making an eye contact with someone, you are kind of insulting that person. Even especially if it is someone elders, if it is a teacher, if like the father in the family, the contact is not very much appreciated. So different varieties of mental training. There the eye contact is a very good thing. Here the eye contact is not a good thing. So most of the people, when you are talking to them, even in India, they don't give eye contact. People give proper eye contact. Even in Thailand, I have seen this thing. Very few people, they give eye contact, because the things which, this is our mental training, the things which we have learned, the things which we do in. So they basically modify what kind of diseases we will have. On the very great varieties in the physical training also, what kind of physical training is being given? The posture we sit in. For example, in India, we sit with a cross leg, in most of the Eastern countries, or with the folded legs. But in West, they don't sit like this. They sit on a chair. They don't sit on the floor or in this position, and like it is called as the lotus position. So with our physical training also, the way we sit, the way we stand, the way we walk, it is also a training which have been given to us. So that also shows how our physical development, the development of our muscle, the development of our bones, how it is going to go. So these different kind of trainings, very great variety. There is a great variety of this thing, both of which may have been neglected, delayed, or carried to excess. These trainings, they might be neglected or they might be delayed in some part, or they might be carried to an excess. They have a lot of training is done around their abuse in the business or conditions of life, or these things have been abused, overdone in the business or different conditions of life. In the matter of diet, what kind of diet we are taking and what kind of regimen we are having, the passions, what kind of passions, excitements, uh, these things we have inside, manners, what kind of manners we are going through, what kind of habits we have cultivated, and what kind of customs we follow of various kind. So you can see that, all these modifying factors, the habits, the manners, the customs, the passions, the trainings which we have got, everything which we know. There is a different kinds of parts of our consciousness. There are things which we know. I know this thing. I know how to ride a cycle. I know how to talk. I know how to write something. All these things which we know, basically, they are basically a part of our mental training. If you are saying that I know this thing, anything, it can be about any manner. So this has been part of our basically mental training. For example, today there was this one of the colleagues who came. She said one thing. She said that, uh, we do, from our side, we do so much good for the people, but the people, they always bite back. They always do something to harm you. This is a training of the mind. Everyone does not feel in the same way. This is a training which we have given to our mind. And there are so many such things, so many things. We have learned so many things in our family, from our traditions, from our customs, from the religion itself. So many things that we consider everything in a part of good and bad. And this division of the thought, whenever the thought started dividing, it started giving more. What is the sensitivity? What are we sensitive about? If you look at a broader way, the susceptibility and the sensitivity, it is basically a division. Oh, I want this, but I got this. I want good, I'm getting bad. But we are sensitive to the things which are not going our way. In a broad way, we are basically sensitive to those things. We are sensitive to something which is not going according to our expectations, which is, so what are the expectations? They are basically our mental trainings, our habits, the manners in which we do the things, in which we think, the customs, the religious customs, the social customs which we are bound to follow. Even we don't want to. Deep inside, we don't want to. We want freedom from all these things, but still we have to do. So all these characters, they basically modify. But Sora, that congenital sensitivity of an organism, because if you are sensitive, then these modifying factors, they will keep doing something to you. If you are not sensitive to anything, if you are not sensitive to right or wrong, if for you everything is okay, I don't believe in right and wrong. For me, everything is okay. I don't believe in good people or bad people. They're all equal. I don't believe in good habits or bad habits. They are okay. So when we are in the healthy state, we are more in okay state. There are many things which we are okay with. You know, uh, for example, if someone is saying, like, about the child, it is okay for me, whatever you want to be in your life, I will accept it. If someone says and believes in also, that okay, whatever you want to be, just follow whatever you want to be, and I will support with you. I will support whatever you want to do. I am with you. So that person will never have a problem. That parent will never have a problem with what the child do in his life. All the parents who have the problem that my child is not doing right, or he is doing wrong, or even if he is doing right, that is because we have this thing that these are the good things to do in the life, and these are the not so good things to do in the life. So this mental training which we have done, why it is training? Because we train the mind every day. We cement our beliefs, we cement our thought processes, we cement our likings and dislikings also. Like this time in Thailand we talked about this, our how we make the decisions on our this pleasure and pain mechanism. So we are basically, with that thing, we are always reinforcing ourselves. This reinforcement again and again and again, this is what Dr. Kent, it calls as the influx. It's this reinforcement which we are doing every day. This is influxing the disease process. That is why the disease is not able to go on its own. The sora is continuing. Recently, a follow-up of mine, she came from the USA, and she was talking about the old things, the things which has happened in the past. She came with her children, and when she started talking about it, my mother-in-law did this thing, my brother-in-law did this thing, and she started crying while talking about this thing. So I just asked her that, tell me that your mother-in-law or your brother-in-law, are they doing this thing to you right now? She said, no, the mother-in-law died. She died 10 years back. And I asked her that, what about the brother-in-law? She said that we are not on talking terms in 7 years. So I said, why are you crying today? Why are you crying today? Because she is also having this, anxiety neurosis, and she had depression. She's very much cured, but still some parts of it, you know. So I asked, why are you crying today? Whatever they have done, the mother-in-law has done. She has not done that thing to you from past 10 years because she died. She's already gone. But today also she has the power on you that she can make you cry. This feeling of powerlessness, we all feel powerless when, about these matters. What can I do? It's a common question. But we tell ourselves that, okay, what can I do in this thing? Someone is coming and making me angry. What can I do about it? But now, when she's sitting in my cabin, the mother-in-law is not there. Still, so what is basically making her weep at that time? This reinforcement of the thought. We are reinforcing it again and again. We are making ourselves more sensitized, oversensitized. That is why this oversensitivity, the more a patient is oversensitive, the more a remedy is oversensitive, the more variety of symptoms they will show to you. This oversensitization. So coming back to the aphorism. So these all things, these modifying factors, they contribute to the production of these great varieties of chronic diseases. But they are secondary symptoms of SORA. These secondary symptoms of SORA. Besides the indescribable diversity of men in respect of their congenital corporeal constitutions. So Dr. Hahnemann is saying that there is indescribable, we cannot describe it. There are so many different kind of physical constitutions. Someone is tall, someone is robust, someone is thin, someone is. There are so many different kind of congenital constitutions. Irrespective of that, even with that thing, this sora, it shows so many symptoms when it goes through, when a person goes through these kind of different circumstances. So that is no wonder if such a variety of injurious agencies. So all these, again, injurious agencies. What are the injurious agencies? All these customs, traditions, thinkings, whatever he has said, this training, mental and physical training, everything, habits, they are all injurious. Sorry, they are all injurious agencies acting from within, from inside us, and from without, and sometimes continually on such a variety of organisms, and they are working continuously on such a variety of organisms permeated with the soric miasm. So all the organisms permeated with the soric miasm, they are these agencies, these injurious agencies, they are always working from within and without, should produce an innumerable variety of defects, injuries, derangements, and sufferings, which have hitherto been treated of in the old pathological works under a number of special names as diseases of an independent character. So everything, this ancient infecting agent, which is getting support from the circumstances which are happening without and within, all these injurious agencies, they are basically developing all these defects, sufferings, derangements, symptoms in the patient, which have been told in our pathological works with some kind of special names, and they have been told that every disease is an independent disease. But it is all coming from the one point and spreading. It is just like a tree, you know. It is just like this, the tree, the soil. This is our predisposition. This is how we are. And the root which grows is like a miasm. This trunk consists of the primary symptoms of the miasm which come on the skin in psora, psychosis, syphilis. Now, it is also a very beautiful thing. I have talked about this thing earlier also, but again, I will mention it, that all the primary symptoms, either of psora or psychosis or syphilis, they basically come on the skin. Even if it is itch, some scabies like itch in the psora, it comes on the skin. If it is a wart, a gonorrheal wart, genital wart, it is coming on the skin. Even if it is a chancre of the syphilis, some ulcer, it is also happening on the skin. So all these primary symptoms, they are first coming on the skin. So this is very important, why the skin is the first part. From there, the secondary symptoms then start developing. Skin, as we have considered earlier also, if we go according to the Dr. Hammer's theory, and even also it is not only Dr. Hammer's theory, but there is an understanding of skin. From the time we have started compartmentalizing the body, for example, eye is a different thing, heart is a different thing, skin is a different thing. We have made specialisms about that thing. There are some specialist doctors about these different organs. We have divided the whole body. We there's a even I'm very sometimes I feel that it is a very dangerous uh, thing which we are, a dangerous president which we are basically making for the people or for the generations who will come or follow. Yeah, we think of body as a machine, like some car, like some other machine, that we say that heart is a pump. Now pump is basically a mechanical structure. The work of the pump is to, pump something from one place to the another. That is not the work of the heart. Heart has so many other things. We think of skin as a protective layer. Now layer is something, very very materialistic thinking. So when we are not feeling the skin is a very innate part of a human being, of every organism, but in human being it is a very very innate part. Innate in the sense everything starts with the skin. The first touch, the first perception of anything when we come into the world, it starts with our skin. The first nutrition starts with the skin from the lips. When a child starts feeding on mother's milk, every sensation, everything, we are basically, the communication with the world, this is all being done through the skin. It is a part of communication. It is part of how we feel in this world. So it all goes through the skin. Similarly, heart is a part of our feeling. We have three kinds of, I'll just go a brief to make it more understanding. It is more deep, but because, it will make we have basically three parts of understanding. There are three parts. The first is the intellectual, here, mind. It knows things from the known sources. Whatever I know, I analyze here. I make it more mechanical, more theoretical, more conceptual. So the thinking or the understanding is more conceptual here, from whatever is coming from here. Then we go down from our heart, mind to the heart. This is our innate intelligence, the heart intelligence. The things which we feel, although our mind is saying one thing, we usually say that there is always a fight between heart and mind. So this is basically a fight between the two intelligences, learned intelligence and our innate intelligence, the intelligence which we were born with. So that is more to the heart. Then we go more deep around our umbilicus. This is the very seat of, you can say, transcendental intelligence, the intelligence which basically bounds us with everything. You can also call it as the intelligence of our soul or the vital force, whatever word you want to give it. So it is more deep intelligence which we have. Many times we call it as the gut feeling. Many times we call it as the intuition. There are many names which we call it. But suddenly out of any this thing, out of any uh, without any kind of input of the information, without any kind of this thing, sometimes you have gut feeling that this is the right thing. Your mind is going into the pros and cons of the thing, it is saying it is a bad thing. The heart is also afraid that we should not do, but the gut or this part, I'm saying the part around the umbilicus, it says that it is okay, let's do it, go with this. That sound comes very infrequently. It is not a frequent sensation, but it comes sometimes. Everyone has experienced that thing. So that is the more deeper intelligence, more transcendental intelligence, the intelligence which connects us to the many things. So the body, it is not something which is mechanical. It works on very different levels. So similarly with the skin, coming back to the skin has its own intelligence. It has its own consciousness. Because of the skin's consciousness, because of this feeling, we are connected with the world. We are connected with our outside. The inside is connected with the outside. So whenever something from the outside is not satisfactory, it is not matching with the inside, whatever it is. So the first organ to get affected is the skin, which is taking in the information, which is bringing in the information. Dr. Hammer has called it the separation conflict, but there is a very, very wide nature to this conflict. Whatever the information is coming, I am not liking it. The first information. So there are rashes, there are some itchings on the skin. So any kind of miasm, any kind of this thing which is developing inside, the root is developing inside, the primary symptoms are always shown on skin because of this reason. And then there are these branches, the leaves and everything, which are the secondary symptoms of the miasm. If we are just looking at this branch, we will see diabetes. If we are looking at this branch, we will see cataract. If we are looking at this branch, we will see hypertension. If we are looking at this branch, we will see some heart disease. If we are looking at this branch or this branch, we will see some kind of lung disease or some disease of the intestines. If we are looking at this branch, we can see some kind of mental disease or this thing. But these are different branches which the pathology has described as different kind of diseases. They are not the part of the whole. But Dr. Hahnemann is giving us the same understanding. See, all these branches, if you want to kill them, if you want to, treat the whole thing, attack here, cut it from the root. This whole thing will fall. This whole thing will fall. So that is why Dr. Hahnemann has given this understanding of the miasm so that we can go from that part of the pathology or from the part of we are part of, so that we can take our mind from that disease and start focusing more on the whole. See, both the systems, the homeopathy and allopathy, in allopathy, diagnosis is very important because the medicines can only be given according to the diagnosis. So it is a very important part of allopathic medical system. Now, if you see diagnosis, what is the diagnosis basically made of? What symptoms? For example, a person, the thirst is increased, the tendency for urine is increased, he is feeling weak, he is having this bursts, this intense desire to eat again and again. So the doctor will tell, okay, go and check your blood sugar. I think you are a diabetic patient. He goes, he checks, and the blood sugar is high. It is 240, 250, 300. So the doctor prescribes the medicine. So the medicine is being prescribed on the common symptoms of the disease. Completely opposite approach. Diagnosis is always made on the common symptoms of the disease. Okay, you are having this wheezing is there, dyspnea is there, you are coughing a lot. Okay, you might be suffering from allergic bronchitis. Let me write your remedy. Again, a common disease of allergic bronchitis. So the medicine is being prescribed on the common symptom. Homeopathy is completely opposite. Here the medicine is basically being prescribed on the uncommon symptoms, on the symptoms which are of the individual, not of the disease. So to give this understanding of the individuality, because next 2 or 3, I think 82 or 83, the case taking will start. The this aphorisms on case taking will start. So before taking us to that approach of individuality, he wanted to remove diseases from our mind. That don't think of disease as an independent character. They are all coming from the miasm. They are coming from this basic intrinsic sensitivity. And all these things, all these outer conditions, they are basically diversifying it. So if you go out, want to cure the sick, cure the patient, you have to cure this miasm itself. Go for that thing. Understand that thing in the patient. That what are the things which are acting from within? It is coming from within, not from eating sugar, not from eating salt, not from breathing bad air. No, it is coming from inside. see that thing and try to fix that thing. So that is the beauty of these aphorisms of the Organon, that they help us to look at the patient as a whole, not in compartments. So that is we have to develop in us in homeopathy. Being a homeopath, we have to develop this thinking in us that no, I am not curing the autism, I am not curing cerebral palsy, I am not curing Down syndrome, I am not curing cancer. I have to cure the miasm. I have to understand the miasm in this patient, how this process is going on, how the psoric process is going on, and I have to cure that. Once it is cured, that root is gone, the whole tree will fall, the whole tree of disease will fall. So second note, footnote to aphorism 81. How many improper, ambiguous names do not these works contain? So now he's talking about the pathological works, the names which are given of the diseases in the pathology. He's saying how many improper, ambiguous names. Improper names. Ambiguous means false. Do not these works contain, under each of which are excluded excessively different morbid conditions, which often resemble each other in one single symptom only, as ague, jaundice, dropsy, consumption, leukorrhea, hemorrhoids, rheumatism, apoplexy, convulsions, hysteria, hypochondriasis, melancholia, mania, quinsy, palsy, etc. So he's saying that all these names are given to these kind of diseases, ache, jaundice, consumption, leuko, all these things, but they basically resemble, you know, each other only in one symptom. Like if there are 5 or 6 patients who are suffering from jaundice, only 1 or 2 symptoms are there which are resembling, because the diagnosis is basically made on 2 or 3 symptoms, not more than that. Or even simple ones, 2 symptoms are there and we make a diagnosis that so patient is suffering from jaundice or hepatitis. Now many different names are given, the more variety of names is there as compared to before, but that again does not solve the purpose, which are represented as diseases of a fixed and unvarying character, and we call that these are fixed diseases, like only this symptom will come. No, and they don't have any varying character to them. If we call that this is typhoid, you're suffering from typhoid, so does typhoid produces same kind of symptom in everyone? No, it has thousands of variations and are treated on account of their name, but the treatment is done, like I was telling you, the treatment is done on the diagnosis. If you have told that the patient is suffering from typhoid, the medicine will be given which is anti-typhoid. It will not matter what kind of symptoms are there in the typhoid. If in the blood, the Vidal test, it comes positive, that means you are suffering from typhoid and these medical medicines are for the typhoid. According to a determinate plan. So the plan has already been determined. It is already written in the practice of medicine. A patient comes to you with typhoid, these are the medications. If they don't work, then give this medicine. If this does not work, then give this. How can the bestowal of such a name justify an identical medical treatment? So he's saying that so many variations are there. So how are we justifying the same identical medical treatment for all those patients who showed different kind of symptoms? Only 1 or 2 symptoms are basically same. For example, if there are 10 typhoid patients, the that's evening aggravation might be there, or just one that they all have fever. The thirst is different, the thermal is different, they are behaving differently, sleep is different, all these things. He's saying that we don't look. And if the treatment is not always to be the same, why make use of an identical name which postulates an identity of the treatment? He's saying that if you don't want to give the same treatment to all the patients, then why you have to name it? Why you have to give an identity to it? Why? It's a very famous of Dr. Kent, and his this thing that a patient comes to him and he asks that he has taken the case and he has determined some medicine. So he is asking that Dr. Kent that doctor, what is the disease which I am suffering from? He says that you are suffering from Nakswamika, because all those group of symptoms basically told that Nakswamika is required. So giving a name is not important. It is not important to give a name. Dr. Hahnemann, he is saying that we should not give these names. So there is something written in Latin says Huxham, a man, and the English translation of this is nothing, of course, has ever crept into the medical art rather than a pestilential evil than to impose certain general name on diseases. Okay. So there's this writer, doctor who is Huxham. He says that the most evil thing which has crept into the medical art, come into the medical art, the most evil thing is to give the name to the diseases, general names to the diseases. Now we see in the camps also in Thailand, in India, in our clinics also, there is a general name given autism to so many children who are behaving in different ways. There are so many different things about them, but because of some 5 or 6 symptoms which are similar, they are given the name of autism, and same kind of therapy, same kind of medicine, some pacifiers, they are given to these children. So that is what Dr. Hahnemann is talking about. Says Huxham, a man as clear-sighted as he was estimable on the account of his consciousness. So this is the name of his book. And in like manner, Fritz laments. There was another, that essentially different diseases are designated by the same name. Okay, that there are different diseases. The diseases are different, but they are designated by the same name. Even those epidemic diseases, which undoubtedly may be propagated in every separate epidemic by a peculiar contagious principle. Dr. Hahnemann has not written the contagious bacteria or virus or contagious matter or material or particle. He is always describing it as a principle or dynamic contagion or dynamic infection. So we, through the whole organon, you will see the same pattern. So we have to go beyond that material part of the disease, the material causation of the disease. So he's saying that even in epidemic diseases, every epidemic is a separate epidemic. It is showing different kinds of symptoms, which are very peculiar to the contagion, the infection which was going on at that time, the dynamic infection which was going on at that time, which remains unknown to us, are designated in the old school of medicine by particular names. So all these epidemics also, they were given the, like we have seen in the recent times that this COVID, so many variation of symptoms. Some is having the symptoms of the heart, some of the lungs, some of the intestines, so many symptoms, varied symptoms. But it was given one name and one kind of medication was being given to all the people. Just as if they were well-known fixed diseases. So we have made a character in our mind that the diseases are basically fixed and they require fixed remedies. They require fixed remedies. So that is why, nowadays, like today, a patient, the same patient, they came that we went to some doctor, and the doctor just, like, okay, he just saw the reports, okay, your typhoid is this and this and fever is there, okay. He just took 3 minutes and he wrote the medication and he sent the patient, because we have this made a fixity in our mind. Fixed name means fixed disease, means fixed treatment. So the patient, they don't put more than 5 minutes or 10 minutes. 10 minutes is a very big thing. Not more than 5 minutes on one patient. That invariably reoccurred under the same form as hospital fever, gall fever, camp fever, putrid fever. So these are the names given to the different kind of epidemics at that time. Bilious fever, nervous fever, mucus fever, although each epidemic of each roving fevers exhibits itself at every occurrence as a new disease, such as it has never appeared before appeared in exactly the same form. So every time that epidemic came, it showed so many new symptoms. You know, just few symptoms, two or three symptoms might be which are matching with the old thing, but they were given the same name and they were being treated in the same way, differing very much in every instance in its course as well as in many of its most striking symptoms and its whole appearance. Even the most striking symptoms, even the whole appearance of the disease, it was different, but still the same name was being given to it again and again. Each is so far dissimilar to all previous epidemics, whatever names they may bear, that it would be a dereliction of all logical accuracy. Dereliction is basically an insult in our ideas of things were we to give to these melodies. He's saying that they were so much dissimilar to the previous epidemics, and whatever the previous epidemics were named, they were given the same name to the recent epidemic. That in our logical accuracy, it is an insult to the logical person. That how we can see that these are the same melodies and the same medicine should be given to this thing, to this patient suffering from these diseases that differ so much among themselves. One of those names we meet within pathological writings and treat them all medicinally in conformity with this misused name. You see that this is an insult to the logical brain. That how we can say that this is the same disease, although it is showing so many symptoms which are different, but still we are giving the same name and that misused name, because he's basically in the organ. What Dr. Hahnemann is trying to tell, he is going to direct to the root of the problems. That what are the root of the problems and they need to be eradicated. And this naming of the disease, like that other gentleman, the Hux Sam, he has also said the same thing, that it is the biggest evil which we have done. With this kind, even in homeopathy, it is tried. They have tried in homeopathy. They are doing it. Therapeutics. In homeopathy, we call it therapeutics. Renal stone, Berberis vulgaris. Congestive headache, belladonna. Some problem of the weakness of the bones, calcarea calm. Teething, calcarea for. Homeopathy, in homeopathy also, the people, they started doing this thing. Giving the medicines on certain symptoms. But every dentition of every child is different. Even when a child is bringing first teeth, the symptoms are different. In the next, when the teeth are erupting in him or her, the symptoms will be different. Even the two teeth which are coming in the child, they are not of same, they are not showing the same symptom. Fever may be a common thing, but what about the other symptoms? What about the other symptoms? So now I will not say that this is only being done in allopathy. Yeah. No, this is also being done in homeopathy. But the problem, the root of the problem is the names. If you take all the name of the diseases, just forget all the names, then you will only see the symptoms. Because naming a disease and giving medicine to it is a very, very easy task. People, they would like to do easy things. They don't want to hard work. They don't want to go into the labor of who will ask so many questions, who will go and analyze about so many symptoms. But that is why, right from the beginning, in the preface, Dr. Hahnemann has said that this is a very laborious task. There are no shortcuts to it. Therapeutic practice is a shortcut. Because if in homeopathy there was a place for therapeutic, these aphorisms would become nonsensical. Either these aphorisms will be nonsense or the practice is nonsense. So there are no medicines, even in homeopathy, there are no medicines for tonsils. There are no medicines for headaches. There are no, we homeopaths, a right homeopath, a true homeopath, he does not understand the names of the diseases. He does not believe in the names of the diseases. Whenever a patient comes that my child is suffering from the autism, I always tell them, keep that thing aside. Tell me the symptoms. Tell me how he behaves. If someone is coming, okay, doctor, I'm having headache, I'm saying, keep the headache away. Tell me the symptoms. Tell me the feeling what you are having here. Tell me the aggravating factors. Tell me the ameliorating factors. Tell me how it starts, how it goes on. There is where our medicine is. The candid Sydenham alone perceived this when he insists upon the necessity of not considering any epidemic disease as having occurred before and treating it in the same way as another, since all that occurs successively. So the Sydenham, this man, he perceived, he understood this thing that every epidemic it should not be considered with the old one. He insists upon the necessity of not considering any epidemic disease as having occurred before. So that is why Dr. Hahnemann also says that whenever a patient comes to you, never think in a way that this kind of patient has come before. It takes you away from the prejudice. So coming back, so Sydenham said this thing that all the epidemics or all the diseases which are coming, they are completely different. One is coming after another, then the another, then the another. They are all different to the previous one. Be they ever so numerous, differ from one another. So again, something is given in the Latin language, which basically translates to this: nothing in my opinion astonishes the mind of the whole, by which it is evident as it scans the orchids of medicine, not so much the different seasons of the same year, as the discrepancies between the year constitution of each year and those which depend upon them. He's saying that, in my opinion, nothing astonishes the mind more than this thing, that even the seasons of the year, every year, the seasons, they are not same. There are discrepancies between it. There is always something different about them. And all the things which depend upon them, on the seasons, on the, this thing, how can they be same? Because he's, at that time, even now, many things we say that, the kind of seasons which are coming, we mostly say that this kind of viral is going on nowadays, or that because we say that these kind of symptoms are there. So he's saying that we go more further, the open diversity of the aforesaid diseases, both proper and peculiar to themselves, as well as by reason of their proper mode of treatment, which they claim to be altogether unequal to them, shines on them. From these, it is evident that these diseases, so as to be of some extent external in appearance, and some symptoms coming on at the same time to both, may seem to agree a little more careless, but in fact, if you observe the mind correctly, they are of a very strange disposition and as distant as the air of wolves. So this is basically a loose translation of Latin. It might be more prominently some things in that Latin part, but I have translated. So what is the crux of the whole thing? So the Sydenham, he is trying to say that the year is different, the weathers are always different. Even if the summer is coming every year, it is not the same kind of summer. Even if the winters are coming every year, the same kind of winter is not coming every year. So whatever is dependent upon these things, either it is the flowers, either it is the vegetation, either it is the flow of the rivers, whatever it is, how can it be same every time? And even if the diseases, if it related to the seasons, that every year something different is there in the atmosphere, there in the telluric part or in our environment, everything is different, the vegetation is different and so how can the diseases be the same? How can we say that it will be more careless to agree on this thing that every time the epidemic is coming, although it is showing some symptoms of the old epidemic, but there are so many new symptoms, some symptoms coming at the same time to both. Okay, there are some, but there are so many more symptoms. So when you observe it correctly, you will see that every has a strange disposition, means every epidemic has a kind of individual disposition of its own, kind of original symptoms of its own. From all this, it is clear that these useless and misused names of diseases ought to have no influence on the practice of the true physician. So this part is what we have to remember when we are going to see the patients. So very, very important part of homeopathic practice, because your prescription most of the times, it depends upon this thing, whether you are thinking about the disease or you are thinking about the patient. So it should have no influence on the practice of the true physician, who knows that he has to judge of and to cure diseases not according to the similarity of the name of a single one of their symptoms, but according to the totality of the signs of the individual state of each particular patient. What is the individual? This is what we have to decide in two things, that where we are going to put our attention: the individual state of each particular patient or the name of the disease. Whose affection it is his duty carefully to investigate, that it is the duty of the physician to carefully investigate this affection which the patient is suffering from, but never to give a hypothetical guess at it. Names are hypothetical guesses. I think you're suffering from typhoid. It's a completely different disease than whatever the typhoid was, whenever it came first time. If, however, it is deemed necessary sometimes to make use of names of diseases in order when talking about a patient to ordinary persons, he says that okay, you can make use of the name of the disease deemed necessary when it is very necessary. For example, I am talking about you. I'm talking with you about a patient. Okay, I had a patient who was suffering from autism. So it gives a rough idea to you that okay, the patient will have these kind of symptoms. Then we move forward. When talking about a patient to ordinary persons to render ourselves intelligible in few words, we ought only to employ them as collective names and tell them the patient has a kind of Saint Vitus dance. Okay? So he's saying that okay, the other person, for example, you are talking with a physician or some other person, if you, because everyone, again, that mental training, the perception of everyone is that a doctor knows the names of the diseases. Doctor should know, okay, that what is epilepsy, what is dropsy, what is renal failure, what is cardiac failure, what is a stroke. The doctor should know this thing. If you don't know, people will say, okay, the doctor does not know anything. So he says that to render ourselves intelligible in few words. In few words, we should tell the person that we have this intelligence, we know the things, but we should not believe in that thing. That those are two different parts. Those are two different parts. So because we are living in a society which is basically based on these things, and I'm right now I'm talking about homeopathy or the medical science. There are so many things. There are things which we say, which we do, but we don't believe in them. And it is important not to believe in them, even if we have to say something. I'm not saying in a negative manner, that okay, I'm saying to someone that you're a good person there, but I don't believe in that thing. I'm not saying like that. But yes, because uh, our profession or our society, there is something we always project. There's always something which we project to other people. But that projection should be in a way that it should not be deceiving to the other person also, but it should solve the purpose of communication also. If I'm projecting myself as a very virtuous man, but I am not, that is a deception. But if I'm projecting something which, for example, okay, if you need my help, you can ask for it. I mean it also, but I'm projecting it also in a way through my words. I'm telling the person. If I just feel it inside, okay, I should help him. I should help him, but I'm not talking about it. I'm not saying it in intelligible words. then there is no meaning of just feeling it also. So we also, as homeopaths, Dr. Hahnemann is telling in this that if someone is asking, then we can say that the patient has a kind of autism, the patient has a kind of heart disease, the patient is suffering from a kind of ague, kind of typhus, kind of dropsy, in order to do away once for all with the mistaken notions these names give rise to. So this thing, the both the things will be served. You have told about the disease also, or the sufferings of the patient, and in yourself also, you are away from that thinking, or you are basically away from the um, deception which the name of disease creates. We should never say he has the sandwiches dance, the typhus, the dropsy, the ague, as there are certainly no diseases of these similar names of fixed unvarying character. So there are kind of these diseases, but no fixed disease. Okay. So although by the discovery of that great source of chronic disease, as also by the discovery of the specific homeopathic remedies for the sora, medicine has advanced some steps nearer to a knowledge of the nature of the majority of diseases it has to cure. Yet, for settling the indication in each case of chronic psoriatic disease, he is called on to cure the duty of a careful apprehension of its ascertainable symptoms and characteristics is as indispensable for the homeopathic physician as it was before that discovery. Okay. So he's saying that although that when we have discovered this source of the chronic diseases, the miasm as a source of the chronic disease, the sora as a source of all the chronic diseases, he says that, and also by understanding the medicines which can cure these sora, we have come more near to the cure of these diseases. Yet, for settling the indication in each case of chronic disease, he is called on to cure. Okay, so we have this understanding of Sura now with us, but what we have to do further is whenever we are called on, like whenever we have to see a case of chronic disease, of the disease originating from the Sura, the duty of a careful apprehension of its ascertainable symptoms. The physician has to do his duty, the same duty which he was doing before also, that apprehension, understanding of the ascertainable symptoms and the characteristics is as indispensable for the homeopathic physician as it was before that discovery. So even before the discovery, we were bringing the understanding the characteristics of the patient, understanding the symptoms of the patient. The same thing is to be done now also, as no real cure of this or the other diseases can take place without a strict particular treatment, individualization of each case of disease. So for individualization, we have to come up with the characteristics. We have to understand the patient. We have to understand the symptoms and make an individual case of every patient. Only that in this investigation, some difference is to be made when the affection is an acute and rapidly developed disease and when it is a chronic one. This we have to see after taking the case whether this is an acute, rapidly moving disease or whether it is a chronic disease. Seeing that in acute disease, the chief symptoms strike us, become evident to the senses more quickly, and hence much less time is requisite for tracing the picture of the disease, and much fewer questions are required to be asked. In an acute disease, the chief symptom, whatever the symptoms are chiefly there, whatever are the prominent symptoms, they strike us. They are very prominent. Okay, which become evident to the senses more quickly. We can understand them, we can see them, we can hear them, we can smell them, whatever kind of symptom is it, and hence much less time is requisite for tracing the picture. So because the chief symptom is so evident, it is coming out so strongly, so the whole picture does not need to be traced because it is of recent origin, the acute disease, especially the epidemics I'm talking here Dr. Hahnemann is talking about, because all the other diseases, the sporadic, the individual, they all come under the psoriatic development. Okay, so this is more about the epidemics. So all these acute diseases, they are basically evident to see at that time, need not to be traced long back because it is of recent origin, and much fewer questions are required to be asked. Very less questions are required, as almost everything is self-evident. Because all the symptoms are self-evident, they are in full bloom. We can see that, we can see what is happening, and we can give the medicine accordingly. Then in a chronic disease has been gradually progressing from several years. But the chronic disease, it is gradually, slowly progressing from many years, in which the symptoms are much worse. Sorry, in which the symptoms are much more difficult to be ascertained. So in chronic diseases, the symptoms are difficult to ascertain. We have to ask many questions for it. We have to take the history from how it started, what are the symptoms which were in the past, what are the symptoms which are now, what kind of characteristics they have. So it is a long case taking. We have to give it time. Footnote to Aphorism 82. Hence, the following directions for the investigating the symptoms are only partially applicable for acute diseases. So now, whatever the directions Dr. Hahnemann is going, the case taking will start from Aphorism 83. So he's saying that they are partially applicable. You, in an acute disease, you don't have to ask all these things. Only some parts of it you can use in the case taking of acute diseases. We will come to that part when we will move towards the acute diseases. So for now, what we have to understand is that we have to understand this miasm, how it is working in the patients. From all these aphorisms, what Dr. Hahnemann is basically trying to teach us. He's basically trying to tell us that don't think of the diseases as some individual things. It is part of the whole. It is part of the sura. All these branches and leaves, they are very small parts of the whole big tree. So concentrate on the roots of the tree. Concentrate there. Because all the characteristics, all the individual characteristics, as we move forward with the case taking, we will talk about it. We will discuss certain cases, which I will give you example of. That all these characteristics, they only come to your mind, or they are only reflected when you are thinking in a way that, I have to understand the sura of the patient. I have to understand from where the whole thing is coming. I have to understand the causation. I have to understand what kind of different things or different individual characteristics this disease has produced in this particular patient. Because all the sum of all these characteristics is basically which points to us to a remedy. It is the only thing. Right? So from all these aphorisms, this 2 or 3 aphorisms, this understanding of sura, I always say that, look around ourselves, look about in the family. Like if you are 2 brothers, or some 2 sisters, 1 brother, 1 sister, or more than that also, try to understand what is commonly going on in the family. Like what were the things which our father and mother believed in, and what we are also believing in. Try to understand things in this way, because all this mental training, I'm just trying to tell you about the mental training which we have done, which the reinforcement again and again and again, which we are doing. Because whenever we are talking with our siblings, with our this thing, with our parents or something, there will be some common topics, common things which would come up, and we will talk about those things. We will talk about those things. We might argue about those things, we might fight about those things, we might agree on those things, but there are some things which which will come up. And that is why the people who basically are very much close to the family, who are very introvert, very reserved, timid, and they don't have many friends, they don't go out much, they always, you will not see much growth in their personal characters. You will not see much growth in their intellectual characters. Just, it is my observation about the society. The people who go out more, who have many friends, who have a lot of friends, they are more, they have more different kind of opinions. They can think about a problem in different ways because they have accepted different views. They even not accepted, but they have gone through, they have understood different views of the world or the society. If you come to India, there will be some things which will be new for you. The people who are from Thailand or from Brazil or from US, when you're coming to India, there are many things which will be new for you. When we go out, I think see many things which are different. So when we go from one society to another society, when we go from one family to the another family, when we are mixing with new kind of people, we are exchanging so many views. They can be positive, they can be negative also. I'm not saying that thing. It can be also contagion, a new contagion, which we might bring back to the family. But that we have to consciously think that's a different thing. But I'm just telling that, if we want to understand this thing more deeply, that how this thing is, we have to start with ourselves, the surroundings which we are in, then go move forward, then understand the patient in their surroundings. Because we cannot understand a patient until we don't know in what kind of surroundings they have grown, what kind of parents they had, what kind of it will come in the case taking part. When we will go through it, Dr. Hahnemann stresses on this thing, that we have to understand the patient, the development of the patient, or this thing, how he is or she is, how they were developed, because it gives us an insight into what kind of things they basically think. So we'll start with the case taking uh, on next Wednesday. Till then, think about this thing, because this is a very great thing. Our brain, our mind, our intellect, the more we think about something, the more kind of clarity it gives to us. Sometimes questions, sometimes clarity. If the questions will come, they are welcomed all the time. If the clarity will come, it is, then this particular lecture will be, you know it has done its work. This particular class, this particular thing has done its work. Whatever it was meant for, that will be done if the clarity comes. So, but the more important thing is to think about this thing, this ancient thing which is being transferred to us through many sources, through traditions, through cultures, through religious, this thing, and how we are basically, I will use a word, entrapped, because we never feel free. You never feel free. We are always entrapped in this thing. So, okay, but that will be a talk for some other time. But yes, think about this thing and how it is basically affecting us. Thank you very much, and a very good night to all of you.